I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
Aloha, welcome to Unity Church of Maui's Sunday service. We've got a great day planned for today. I happen to have with me one of my best friends who comes and visits us from time to time. This is Rabbi Mo. How are you doing there, everyone? It's nice to see you. And Rabbi Mo and I are going to talk about some spiritual truth. And Rabbi Mo's had a really phenomenal life. And so he's going to share some of his life with us. And we'll look at how we can find meaning in his amazing life. So Mo, you know lots of stories. Why don't you begin by telling us one of your stories?
Well, one time I was at the airport, and this gentleman, you might know him, George W. Bush, came up to me, and he stands right in front of me, and he says, "Are you Moses?" And I'm like, oh, I don't want to talk to this guy. So I'm looking around at the ceiling, and he's persistent. He comes over to me and says, Are you Moses? And I'm looking at the ceiling. And then he comes over and he grabs my arm and he pulls on my shirt and he says, "Are you Moses?" And I said, "Yes, I'm Moses." And he says, "Oh, why are you being so persnickety with me?" And I said, "Well, the last time I talked to a bush, I spent 40 years in the desert." I love that. I love that story. He's a good man, that George Bush. So I imagine that you have known lots of famous people over your lifetime, and so what I'd like to do today is to talk about your life. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your childhood? Well, I was raised in Egypt, where my family had been slaves for 400 years. At that particular time when I was born, the Egyptian Pharaoh was trying to cut down the population of us Israelites. And so he was having all of us babies put in baskets and put in the river. So my mama, she put me in a basket and put me in the river, and they was hoping I was going to go down the river and die. But the princess pulled me out of the river, and it just so happens that my mother was there, and she picked my mother to take care of me. So I got to go and live in a palace and have my very own mother take care of me.
Well, that's pretty amazing, Moses. So it seems to me that you're a really intelligent guy, despite the fact that you're kind of a basket case.
Oh, now, that argument doesn't hold water. You know that.
So, your name Moses, doesn't that mean to be drawn out of the water?
Yes, that's right. That's sort of the deep meaning of my name. And I got to be known as a person who not only took the Israelites out of Egypt, but I bring the truth out of water. I find the spirit in things, and I help to bring that out and help people to realize the truth of who they are.
So you were raised to become an Egyptian leader. Tell us a little bit about your education.
Well, let's see. I was very fortunate that I had very good education. I was trained in science and mathematics and government and military, and because my mother was Jewish, I was raised in the ideas of Judaism and to become a priest. So as you can see, Reverend Tinsley, I ain't no dummy.
Well, looks can be somewhat deceiving.
No, that's not fair. You talk like that. Look at you. You got your hand up my back and inside my head. I can know who the real dummy is in this here conversation.
All right. Well, we don't need to get into that. So you spent 40 years of your life studying to become a leader, and then something happened that changed your life. What was that?
Well, You know, there was a group of Hebrews, and they was building a pyramid and cutting them stones and putting them together. And one of the slaves smashed his finger between two bricks, and then one of the guards started yelling at him and screaming at him, "Get back to work!" And the poor guy's hurting. And I'm like, well, that's not fair. So I grabbed me a brick and I went over and I banged that slave driver right on top of the head. Well, it killed him, didn't it? Yeah, I'm afraid I have to say it did kill him. And I felt bad about that all my life. I guess if I was to do it again, I wouldn't want to kill that poor man, but I would like to stop him from doing the evil things that he was doing and tell him to treat people more nicely. However, killing him caused a great transformation in your life, right? Didn't it change the direction of your life? Well, yes, it did. The Egyptians was mad at me, and they didn't want to deal with me anymore after that. So I had to leave Egypt, and actually by killing that guy, it caused me to look at my life deeply, and helped me to create the desire to help people. You know, on one level, it made me choose to experience my own liberty and to realize with the enslavement that these people were in, and to bring up that desire in me to help people. In fact, one time when I was in the desert, there was this group of people, and they was being chased around by some looters. And I went over and I was able to get those looters to go away, and I ended up marrying one of them ladies there that I helped to rescue. So, I believe that it's our job to do the best we can in everything we do and make things turn out as good as we possibly can. Well, it must have been difficult for you to go from being a noble person living in a palace to being a shepherd. How was that for you? Well, it's an important part of my education, I really realized how important it was when I was with the people to go into my own heart. I had all that education, but what I didn't have is the understanding of what love is and what peace is. And I didn't understand myself, and I didn't understand how to get in contact with the truth of who I am. So it wasn't until I was in the solitude of the desert that I learned to listen to inner guidance. You know what I mean? It's like until I really was able to turn within and look at inside my heart and feel things, that I really started to realize that I could get in touch with the presence, with the spirit, with the love that's within myself. It's like I learned to tap into that inner guidance. So in order for you to become a great leader, you had to get in touch with yourself and find that spiritual guidance within yourself, yes? Well, yeah, and tending sheep gave me that ability, because I spent so much time being out there by myself, and I would pray and meditate and do all those things, but it's really what trained me to be receptive to the presence of God within me. What would you say was the most important thing that ever happened to you? Well, it was when I was tending my flock, sitting out there by myself and not feeling very connected, not really enjoying my life and not really enjoying being a shepherd. And I was sitting out there and I was meditating and praying, and all of a sudden things started to go crazy. It's like the earth started to move, and there was fireworks, and this bush that was in front of me, doggone thing caught on fire, and it didn't like explode and go away, but it was intense fire in front of me, and I'm like, holy mackerel, look at the bush burning. And then I didn't know what to do. I looked all over for a fire extinguisher, and I couldn't find one, and then finally, the flame died down, and I heard this voice from inside the bush. It said, Moses. That's pretty good. Moses. And I'm like, who is that? What is that? And the voice said, Moses, I want you to free your people and take them out of Egypt. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? And the voice said, you go and talk to the Pharaoh and tell him you want to set the people free. And I'm like, oh no, that's not me. I can't communicate like that. I can't talk like that. I can't go and talk to that guy. He don't want to talk to me after I killed one of his men. And the voice said, Moses, you are the one. You can do it, Moses. Ooh, so did you doubt your abilities? Oh yeah, I doubted myself big time. There's no way that I felt like I could do the things that whatever was in that bush said I could do. So what did you do? Well, I said to the bush, who are you? What are you doing in there? What's your name? And the voice said, I am that I am. And I thought, you is that you is? How can that be? What kind of a name is that? And then, when I looked within and I looked at myself, I realized that I am is me. What that voice was saying was that I have that power within me to do these tasks that the Spirit or God was calling me to do. And that moment, I realized I was having some kind of an enlightening experience or awakening of some kind. And I realized that I could use my bondage experience in my own mind to help to bring the people out of Egypt. So then you became receptive to divine ideas, and they kept coming. And you just got the resources and everything that you needed to do what you needed to do, even though you didn't think that you had the ability within you. Is that right? Oh, that's exactly right. Once I learned how to turn within and rely on my intuition, and I was able to lead those people. So after leaving Egypt, I followed the clouds and the flame, and I was scared, and my people were scared, but they followed me. And so you were finally able to take your people out of Egypt and across the Red Sea. What was crossing the Red Sea like? Oh my, that was really something, I'll tell you. But God told me just to raise up my staff. And so I just was able to stick out my hand and raise up my staff. And miracle, the strangest thing happened, that water separated and the land got dry. And the Israelites was able to walk across the dry land to the other side. And then we got to the other side, and I thought, well, what do I do now? And I kind of listened in my head and in my heart, and I figured, I'll just raise my staff up again. I raised it up again, and the water came back together, and all those poor people, them Egyptians in the water, they all died. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I know I do too. I can't hardly believe it, but we was able to then to go out into the desert and follow that inner guidance. And my people was afraid. They told me that, oh, Moses, we don't want to go out there, and it's scary, and we don't know where we're going. And I told them, all I got to do is touch my staff to the rocks, and the rocks will turn into water and bread, and you all be fed. We'll be getting that manna, whatever that is. But I know it sounds worse than it is. It actually tastes pretty good. Yeah, I bet it does. And so the people complained, and we started roaming around the desert, and we was out there just about 40 years. And my wife come to me and she says, Moses, don't you think we've been wandering around here for about 40 years? Don't you think it's time that we ask for directions? And I wasn't about to ask for directions, because you know how we men are. We just don't do that, right? We can be driving all around, and your girlfriend tells me you never ask for directions either. No, I never do. It's against what I stand for. See there? I've been telling men that for years. You don't have to ask for directions. And actually, do you know where you should go for directions? Not really. Where? Where should I go? Well, you go into your heart. You go inside and ask, oh God, what is it I'm supposed to do? And exactly what you need to do is going to come from your heart to your head. And you're going to realize that God stands behind that and is going to make everything just beautiful. Woo, me. How you doing there, Mr. Reverend Tinsley? You doing all right? Yeah, well, I got to look at these notes a little bit from time to time, and I know you did. I'm surprised you didn't memorize all that. You see, I don't need no notes. I could just carry on like this forever. So, everything in your story is a remarkable parallel to our own spiritual unfoldment, to our enlightenment, and it's... it just seems to me that this is all about breaking free, finding the truth of who we are, and moving past bondage, into the enlightenment. You first you decide that you want to be free, and then you cross you cross the Red Sea, and the things part, and you're able to separate out what's important. And then you go out into the desert and you navigate and you roam around until you finally discover the things that are blocking you from discovering your truth. And then eventually you go into the promised land. Yeah, no, that's exactly what the story is. And it's interesting because you all in this country today and in the world, you have challenges here for you. You're in the wilderness right now, because you're looking around trying to discover what it is that wants to be found right now. This whole thing with George Floyd situation is an opportunity for a great healing in this country. And I really hope in my heart that you all will find what it is that you can do to change this world, and it all starts by changing the way you think and changing the way you act. And I might ask you out there listening to this today, what is it that you can do how can you be to discover the truth of who you are, and what can you do? This is really calling us forward at this time to discover who we can be in this world. What can we do? What can you do to create more love, to release the racial tension and the prejudice, and help to bring ease to the dis-ease in this world? What is it you can do? Perhaps you can find a way to listen to each other, and to be with each other and hear each other's stories and talk to each other, and to be vulnerable. It is by being vulnerable that we discover the truth of who we are. And when we're vulnerable, we open our hearts and we let go of our defenses so we can be present to each other and realize that we are all the same. We are all spiritual beings having a physical experience and trying to figure out what we can do to be the best selves that we can possibly be. And so, when we free ourselves from our limited beliefs and prejudice and biases and discrimination, we can really solve the problems of this world. And imagine, that the Spirit of God is fully operating on this planet. So at some point, we have a spiritual awakening as you did, and we make a choice not to be in bondage anymore. Not to, we make a choice to listen to that inner guidance, which is kind of
what you're talking about today is like, what can I discover in me that will help the world to come together, to be more peaceful? How can I find peace in myself, and how can I be a part of that peace in the world? Then comes a day when we slay the Egyptians in our mind. The Egyptians just represent aspects of ourselves that are greedy and selfish and prejudiced. And once we release those ideas from our consciousness, that we can take a stand and we can move forward in love and light. And then we can learn to retreat into prayer and meditation, and we can be more receptive to our inner spirit. As long as we're defensive, or we're angry, or we're focused on ourselves and our own selfishness, we can't really discover the truth of who we are. Yeah? Well, that's right, Reverend Tinsley. I think you understand everything I'm talking about pretty well. You kind of took what's my truth and made it sound like it's your truth. Well, I admire you for that. That's kind of what my job is, and so you are some kind of a character. Did you know that? Well, I'm just a reflection of you. That's all. And once we all discover that we are all reflections of each other, and we start to love ourselves, and my rabbi friend Jesus was all about that, saying that to love your brother as yourself. And of course, to do that, we got to love ourselves first now, don't we? Yeah. So Moses, you are centuries ahead of your time. Technically, you are the first person with a tablet to download information from the cloud. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. I love how you can come up with these modern metaphors to describe my ancient actions. I guess that's what we do, and that we always look for some way to draw a parallel. When I was up on Mount Sinai, I told God I had a headache, and He said, "Here, take these 2 tablets and call me in the morning." Well, those tablets have brought so much healing to this planet because it gave people some guidelines and ideas about how to live together, some structure to find the truth within themselves, and some rules to live by. Those tablets have brought lots of healing to this world. So to summarize everything, Mo, so the key really is to tune into our higher guidance, right? And that's where we start. That's exactly right, Reverend Tinsley. And from there we go to experiencing the burning bush. And the burning bush is that time when something happens. It wakes us up and gets our attention. It's like the stuff's in fire in front of you. You got to pay attention, right? And so we pay attention, and it says, okay, there's some healing happening here, a possibility. And then we cross the Red Sea. And that's really where we face our limited beliefs and our doubts and our prejudices and our fears, right? And then what happens? Well, then we go into the wilderness. And it's in the wilderness where we are able to think about what's working and what's not working. And we can apply some truth to that which isn't working and let go of the stuff that don't work, the doubts and the fears and the prejudices. And then we go where, Reverend Tinsley? I'll give you a test. Well, then we go into the Promised Land. And the Promised Land is that place where we live in peace, where we are able to fully live our truth and be creative and experience the fullness of life. That's right. That is so right. So I've got an affirmation for today there, Mo. And how about, would you like to read it for us? Well, sure. I'm not sure I can read that scribble you got there, but I'll try. All right, here it is right here. So it says,
I am inspired and motivated to follow the guidance of the divine spirit within me. All right, so let's all read it together. Moses will read it, and let's affirm this affirmation together. Okay, here we go, Mo. I am inspired and motivated to follow the guidance of the divine spirit within me. Woo! Man, you're one wise character. Thank you for being with us today. Oh, it's my pleasure. I love coming here. Anytime you need some ideas, something to talk about that's intelligent, you just let me know, because I can make even a dummy look good. All right. Well, thanks, Rabbi, for joining us today. We're going to join together for some meditation. So let's do that now. And Moses, you can lay right down on the table here, and I invite you to close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath. Oh, breathing into this moment, giving thanks for this time together. Giving thanks for the connection with our heart and the connection of spirit that we find there, in the elegance and in the beauty of our hearts, where we are connected to the allness of God, to the oneness, to the truth of who we are. Let's take a deep breath, breathing in and breathing out. And let's take just a few moments in the silence to bathe in the wonderful energy of love. Let's do that in the silence. Breathing in and breathing out. Let's let our awareness return to this moment. Thank you, loving Spirit. And I invite you to open your eyes whenever you're ready. Namaste, and thank you for being with us today. And I'd like to thank you for being a part of Unity Church of Maui, and for being a part of the collective consciousness that is making a difference in the world. And I encourage you to connect with the truth of who you are, and to, as Gandhi said, be the difference that you want to see in the world. So let's be different. Let's live wholeheartedly with love and peace, and to be the presence of God wherever we are. And I invite you to prepare your contributions to Unity Church of Maui, and to thank you in advance for giving to us and celebrating with us. I like to think that for all of you that give to us, that you are a part of the work that we do, because you're part of generating the energy that allows us to do this great work. So thank you for your gifts, and I invite you to hold them in your consciousness or to hold them physically. And let's affirm together our prayer of abundance and prosperity together. Through a grateful, giving heart, my mind and life overflow with the abundance of God's all-providing, infinite supply. And so it is. Amen. And you can give to Unity Church of Maui by sending us a check in the mail to 483 South High Street,
in Wailuku, Hawaii, 96793. And you can also go to our website at unityonmaui.org and click on the donate button. And we would gladly appreciate your gifts. And thank you so much. And I just have a couple announcements today. What a great gift. Next week, Virgie Cantorna, Dr. Virgie Cantorna, is going to be speaking. And the title of her talk is, "What Color is God's Skin?" I think this will be a perfect and beautiful lesson for us at this time. And she gives us a quote to think about in the week before her talk. And it's from a woman named Jane Elliott, who said, "If you would be happy to receive the same kind of treatment that our black citizens in this," let me just say that again. "If you would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens in this country receive, please stand." Wow. So we invite you to contemplate that in the next week, and I know that Virgie will offer us an amazing message next Sunday. Also, we've got some Zoom calls coming up. There'll be one at 11 o'clock today, and you can connect to that Zoom call by going to our newsletter, if you got that, and clicking on the link for the Zoom call at 11 o'clock today. You can also go to our website and click on the link that's on our website and join us in our Zoom room at 11 o'clock today. We'll also meet on Wednesday at noon, Hawaii time, for meditation and reading of the daily words. We'd love to have you join us for both of those wonderful activities. And if you enjoy our Unity Church of Maui services, you can always go to our YouTube page, and that's Unity Church of Maui YouTube. And you can watch numerous past videos and music that's up there. And please subscribe while you're there. And I think that is about it. So thank you for being here today. God bless you. And if you do tune into the Zoom call at 11 o'clock today, I will wake Moses up, and you can ask him questions or me questions, and we'd love to talk to you real time. So why don't we pray together the prayer for protection, which begins, "The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is." God bless you, friend. Thank you for being here. Namaste and mahalo.
Where I live, they're all raised.